In this video, we're going to be doing a complete review of Fractal Design's brand new Pop Air XL series case. Last week, we did a review of their standard Pop Air case, so I'm excited to see what the differences are between the Air and the Air XL. So in this video, we're going to be doing not only an unboxing, but we're going to be doing a quick build inside of it, and then we're going to be showing you just how well your system performs inside of here and how quiet it is as well. Let's get to the unboxing so we can get through the rest of the video. So here we are again, the Fractal Design Pop XL Air computer case. Here they show the case itself. Looks pretty basic, nothing out of this world. Then they show you here some of the product specifications. Coming around the side over here, just Fractal. Around the back over here, kind of going over some of the features and specifications. Then they show the case all blown apart over here. I love when they do that, just kind of shows you it a little bit in more of a three-dimensional type environment, which of course we will go over very soon. Other side, basically the same thing as the other side, but here we have the model name, serial number, model, RGB white, TG clear tint, EAN UPC, JAN number, and that's basically it. So let's go ahead, open it up real quick. All right, so just open it up. Tape to the bottom, instruction manuals, and then some extra tools. I apologize, this was for the extended radiator bracket, not additional tools. This is incredibly important. They have taped to the very top a top mesh cover filter for the very top of the system. All right, and then taped to the side, Pop XL user's guide. On the rear, we'll have two thumb screws. Just undo those, and don't worry about the glass falling off or the side panel falling off. First off, let's get rid of this. Beautiful sound. The way you remove the side panel, as you may have noticed, there are no handles here. You just grab it by the actual screw, just pull back and it slides out, and then go ahead and tilt it forward. So these little pieces right here lock right into these pieces on the top of the case. And then of course, to keep the inside looking nice, so this case will accept mini ATX, micro ATX, ATX, and E-ATX motherboards. So you can pretty much put any motherboard you'd like here. Then they have a huge opening here for the back panels for liquid cooling units or heavy duty air cooling units. So we can see along the top over here and the rear, this is where you would put the rear I/O for your motherboard. So there is some gap right over here for liquid cooling units. They also have the support for the radiator up towards the side. On the last video, I thought it'd be safe along with that, but that's where this came into handy, and I'll keep this in my back pocket just in case we need it. So the top will support up to a 280 millimeter radiator. We can see along the rear here, the I/O, we can fit up to 8 PCIe devices. And then there is a little cutout here for power supplies. Now this will be the top of the power supply. You'll want to aim the fan downwards, and we'll get to that in 1 second as well. There are also two openings right over here, a longer one towards the front of the motherboard, and then a shorter one towards the rear. The rear typically for HD audio and maybe some RGB functions. Then the front more for the front panel power reset and those other buttons there, as well as some USB 2.0, 3.0 along the sides down here. Along the front of the case, we have three 140 millimeter fans, along with the rear 140 millimeter fans. So the case brings 4 aspect 12 RGB fans. The front can be used with a 360 millimeter radiator or a 280 millimeter radiator. Now there isn't as much room down here as there was on the standard Pop Air case. So there is about 1/2 inch of space between the floor and the ceiling of the bottom of the case. Now coming to the back, again we can find that 140 millimeter fan. Down here we can find a venting, kind of an opening for a vertically mounted GPU. Now while the cutout isn't there and there isn't any special slot adaptation for it, you can easily modify it if you wanted to. And I did forget to mention before, all of the 8 IO covers are vented as well. Down here we'll find the power supply. We'll get to that in 1 second. And then over here, as we did before, we can just undo these thumb screws. This side does have a handle. And like we did before, just slide it out and pull it forward. And now, like the Pop Air had, the cables come from the front of the case and then down towards the spine. We can find those same 2 Velcro ties right over here to cable manage your cables. And you'll notice since the front 3 fans and the rear fan are white, the cables are white as well, and it looks really nice inside of the case like that. Now mind you, these are black, but you have to imagine they have many different colors, so it would be really expensive for them to have to store so many cables, and then that expense would come over to you. And this is a very affordable case, especially being that it is an XL case. Another difference I spot right over here is this tray. Now over here with a simple thumb screw turn, we can add in a 3.5-inch drive or an SSD, so that's nice. And then it comes in right over here, so we can just push it in here or up here as well. Now over here we'll find a spot where we can screw in 2 standard size SSDs. Thankfully, all of the thumb screws in this case come off really easily. So we saw that little tray right over here. Easily just lay it right over here, screw it in the back, and just slide it back in. And we can pop in those SSDs right here. Now we have that same option down here towards the bottom and right at the very top of the case here, where we can just unscrew it, slide it out, and then we can fit some more SSDs. So they have plenty of spots for SSDs and very easily accessible. Then right along the rear here again is where we can mount a power supply. So we just slide mount the power supply and slide it forward. You'll notice right over here there are 4 rubber feet to keep noise and vibration out of the case. And then tied to the cables, we'll find the accessories bag, which we will get into in 1 second. I'm just going to move it aside for right now. Now the case does have an HD audio cable, then a USB 3.0 cable, a SATA power cable, and then a power switch header. All right, now coming along the front over here, we'll find a little tray right over here that is magnetic. These little magnets over here, they lock right into here, and there is a little Fractal label that we do pull on to remove this panel. And we'll have a tray here, which is really nice because you can put all those screws and every little accessory right into here. Of course, whatever you can fit, your thumb drives, whatever, and just slide it back into place and put the cover back on it. Now, aside from this handy tray, if you removed these SSD trays, you can actually slide in 2 5.25 optical drives or whatever kind of drive you'd like to put in here. And that's kind of nice for those of us that might still have optical drives. Now along the front, aside from the panel down here, we can just pull that out. We can take the entire front panel out, just easily pulling on it, and we expose the 3 140 millimeter fans. So if you wanted to remove those, replace those, or remove them to put in a liquid cooling unit, easy way to get to that. Now along the front of the case, we'll find the power button on the top, the RGB button to change the RGB lights on the fans, as well as a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, 3.5 millimeter microphone jack, 2 USB 3.0 ports, and a USB Type-C port, but unfortunately it is not active. You would have to buy a separate module for that. And then right over here, where you would put a liquid cooling unit, a radiator, or additional fans, and then that would also coincide with this filter that came in the packaging. Now, if you're going to have a radiator here blowing air out or exhausting air, I would recommend removing it. Now, if you wanted to use that USB Type-C, you would plug in that module right in here, and that would activate that port for you. In that accessories bag comes with 2 zip ties, or actually, I'm sorry, 4 zip ties. Comes with these rings, an extra one I dropped, so that you can screw into the 3.5-inch drive for the mechanical drives. That way there is no vibration. And then these screws would be for the power supply, for these types of screws. 8 of these types of screws. 12 of these types of screws to also use with these little rings here to help keep down the vibration. A bunch of these screws for the motherboard and many other options within the case. Then we have the Pop XL user's guide, which will definitely have some good information. It will be brief information on how to build with inside of this case, and then other guides in here as well, but you don't have to worry. I'll go ahead and do a quick build for you. Let me know down in the comments if you'd like me to do one of my usual builds where I take a little while and I explain the entire build process inside of this case. And then this attention document, in the event of receiving a faulty product, before returning the product, and give Fractal a call. They might be able to help you out. It could be a misunderstanding. And then the extended radiator bracket. Now this one is incredibly important and might be easily overlooked if you're not paying attention. So this would be screwed onto the radiator with these screws. And what this does, it allows you to move the radiator over. And the fact that they came out with this is such an amazing idea. Move it over maybe half an inch or so over towards the glass to move it away from a radiator or from a stick of RAM that might cause it not to fit in properly. This is an amazing idea. And then of course the manual on how to use it. So now that we know everything that the case is about, we can go ahead and start building inside of it. We're going to be using the X570S Aorus Master motherboard along with the AMD Ryzen 9 5900X processor. Cooling this bad boy is going to be the Arctic Freezer 2 280 RGB liquid cooling unit. Providing graphics for this system is going to be the EVGA GeForce RTX 3080 Ti FTW3. For storage, we're going to be utilizing the Sovereign Rocket 1TB drive. Then for memory, we're going to be using 32 gigs of Patriot Viper RGB RAM, 4133 MHz. And then powering this entire system will be the EVGA 1000 GT power supply. Let me know down in the comments if you'd like to see a longer video where I explain to you the entire build process with all of these components inside of this case. So let's get started. So now that we're done with the build, we're going to go ahead and flash the BIOS and install Windows. I'm going to skip over that in this video because this video is just a review on the case itself. So then after we install Windows, I'm going to go ahead and do some thermal testing and some noise testing to see just how hot it gets, and then also to see how loud everything gets within the case. Then also to mention, I did get my copy of Windows 11 off of softwarekeep.com. That's where I've been getting my keys lately. They're actually incredibly affordable because you don't have to keep buying them over and over and over because the keys are no good anymore. You can use my code TBFY20 to save 20% off of your purchase. And they have not only Windows keys, but they also have Office, antiviruses, and a bunch of different stuff. So go check it out. Again, softwarekeep.com. And in case you don't have all the money up front, they do offer like a kind of a buy now, pay later type thing called Klarna. Check it out. Anyway, let me go ahead and take care of this real quick. Alright, so I've been stressing the system now, CPU wise, for a good 38 minutes. I've been using IDA64, which brings it to 100% CPU utilization. So let's check out the thermals real quick. Alright, so as we can see, the temperature for the CPU is 66 degrees. It just dropped down from 67 degrees, and well, you can see on here that it might have dropped at some point to 64 or 63 degrees. At the highest, it might have hit 69 degrees, maybe 68 degrees, but it's been pretty steady at 66, 67 degrees, and that's beautiful. We've been running now for almost exactly 40 minutes, and the temperature in the house, as always, is 66 degrees. That's Fahrenheit, by the way. So we can see up front here, the temperature coming in from the front is 19 degrees. And then just coming around, 20 degrees, 21. So anywhere between 19 and 21 degrees. So cool air coming in through the front, blowing cool air throughout the system. Then coming over here from the rear, we can see about 23 degrees, 24 degrees. On the GPU, even though we're not testing GPU right now, about 25 degrees, 24 degrees. Keeping nice and cool. The entire system is nice and cool along the side here. 22. Nice and cool. Let's check out the top. Now along the top, now we're hitting the radiator, 26 degrees. Just moving around. Closer we have the laser, the better the temperature is going to be, or the more accurate I should say. So 26 degrees all around, which is amazing. CPU has not gone over 67 degrees Celsius, which is great. So the CPU is running at, again, fully stressed. Now testing along the top to see how loud it's getting. So we're directly over the radiator. Seeing anywhere between 47 and 50 degrees, or 50 dB, sorry. 51. Hit 52, which isn't very bad at all. We are within 3 inches of the radiator. Coming in along the rear of the machine, directly behind the rear fan. Between 46 and 49 dB, directly behind the video card. Between 45 and 48 dB. And then directly in front, between 42 and 48 dB. So this system is amazingly quiet. So now let's stress out the GPU. Alright, so here we're running 3D Mark ThisBytes Extreme, the one that will max out the GPU. We're running at 73 degrees Celsius. CPU, since it's not being really utilized, 57 degrees. And we can see the card is doing amazing. Again, this is the EVGA GeForce RTX 3080 Ti FTW3. It's a hot card, but as you can see up here towards the front, we do have 3 140mm fans just blowing nice cool air from the front. Then we have that one rear 140mm fan exhausting air out of the back, and then on the top for the liquid cooling unit, 2 140mm fans exhausting air out of the top. So this thing is running perfectly cool. As we've gone over already, we can see the front of the case is in the 20 degrees exactly. Just looking around, 19 degrees, 21 degrees, and it's like 21.2, 21.7, so it's not a flat 21 degrees, but nice and cool out of coming in from the front. Now coming out of the rear, we can see 34 degrees Celsius, 36, 39, 41. This is hitting directly in the back of the video card, where you can see those little vents to help air come out of. 36. So with the hottest we've gotten to 43 degrees Celsius, 44. Trying to find the hottest point, 45. So still coming, even the air coming out of the back is nice and cool. Now we can see the air coming out, 63 dB. That's a little loud. But again, we are stressing the card and the card alone 100%. So I would say at 100%, that's doing pretty good. Up here, the fan directly behind the fan, the highest it's gotten, or the loudest, is 52 dB, which is not bad at all. So coming around the top, even though we're testing the GPU, this will of course affect the temperature coming out of the radiator. So we can see 33 degrees, 32 degrees, 33 again. So not bad at all. Noise level, highest it's gotten is 51 dB. So not bad at all. So coming back to an idle system for a little while, we'll open up HW monitor and we'll come down to the temperatures down here. We can see the CPU is idling anywhere between 23 degrees all the way up to maybe 42 degrees. So it's keeping itself nice and cool. Then the idle temperature, or the idle noise, is anywhere between 30 and 34. Below 30, this will show an UND message. And right here, we're about 1.5 feet away from the computer itself. The side panel is, of course, on. So the case measures 20 inches in length. From the foot to the very top, 20.5 inches. And is 9 inches wide. So now that I've had some time with the Pop Air XL case, I'm loving it. There is only one real issue, but it's not a tremendous issue, I would say, is the fact that while you can't fit a 280mm radiator, which does great, at least for a 5900X, we can't put a 360 or a 420, not a huge issue. We can put it along the front, but then of course you're going to be restricting airflow within the case, at least coming from the case, which is typically the coolest part of the case. The EVGA GeForce RTX 3080 Ti FTW3 itself is a 12-inch card. Now from the front of the case till the top of the video card, we have 6.5 inches. So we have plenty of space to either have a liquid cooling unit up here if we wanted to, even in a push-pull if we wanted to, or maybe add another set of fans, again, if you wanted to. The downside is that it will only take up to a 280 millimeter radiator up at the top, even though here we can see there's plenty of room. They've chosen to leave that bare, good or bad, so that we can do whatever we wanted right over here or throughout the front of the case. Totally up to you if you like that or not, of course. Unlike the regular Pop Air, we didn't have any kind of issues where we needed to use the extender to move the radiator towards the glass itself. We had plenty of room to install it here without hitting anything additional, because of course they dropped the motherboard. Instead of being at the very top of the case, it came down about maybe 2 inches to give it plenty of space for the radiator, and then a little bit more if we needed to. We can see here there is a tiny bit of space, not much, but the radiator could be a little bit thicker if it needed to. Push-pull might be an issue depending on what kind of fans you would use, but they would need to be incredibly thin fans. This case gives us plenty of room to pretty much do anything we needed to. As an example to what I was referring to, instead of the I/O and the rear fan being all the way at the very top, they give you about 2 inches here to be able to install your motherboard and have some room before you hit the very top of the case. So as I showed you before, we have the ability here to install up to 8 different devices on the back of the system. Of course, you know, that's going to be dependent on your motherboard, but we have the usual one at the top, which many times is wasted, and then the additional one at the very bottom for any kind of card that you may want to sit on there that isn't a PCIe reliant card. And this up here, while nice, I don't think is going to be a game changer for anybody. Very cool that, you know, when you're done with a thumb drive, you could pop it here so you don't lose it. Or you can install the 2 optical drives, but again, I don't know that that's going to change anybody's opinion on the case. Just a kind of cool little gimmick that they do include. The rear of the case is nice. They give you about 1/2 inch back here of space for your cabling and everything. And then when there is this little recess down over here, they give you an entire inch. That inch, of course, is also for your maybe 3.5 inch mechanical drive, which you can move this tray from here to up here to have it whichever way you like it. Then of course you have the 2 trays down here as well. So 2 drives down here, 1 up here, or maybe 2 drives here and then 1 down here. Then we also have 2 SSDs back here. So they give you plenty of space inside of this case to put drives wherever you want. Then also to neatly or as haphazardly as you like route all the cables back here. So that's our review for the Fractal Design Air XL RGB case, this particular one in white with the clear side panel. As you've seen, they come in a variety of colors as well, and with and without the side panels. Also, I'd love to see the inside of the computer. I'm a geek. Hopefully you are too. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Do you love it? Do you hate it? If you do love it, what makes you love it so much? And if you hate it, what is that piece that just makes you want to throw it out the window? But to me, the price is amazing. It's got everything you need in a case and more. Mind you, it will support E-ATX motherboards, so it has plenty of room for just about everything, especially the liquid cooling unit, which its little brother really didn't, but kind of sort of did with the extender. Anyway, again, let me know what you think down below. Thank you.